Huh. Imagine this. You walk into a room, a place you believe is your sanctuary. It's a cancer support group. You're there because you're fighting for your life. The air is thick with fear, but also with a quiet, powerful sense of shared understanding. And in that room, you meet Amanda. She's got a bright smile, a shaved head, and a story that breaks your heart. She tells you she's dying. She talks about the chemo that drains her, the radiation that burns her skin, the mountain of hospital bills. All she wants, she says, is to live long enough to see her children grow up. You believe her instantly. How could you not? She looks just like you. She sounds just like you. Two women in that group, let's call them Sarah and Jessica, were drawn to her light. They were fighting their own battles with real tumors. They were exhausted, scared, and desperate for hope. Amanda became that hope. She hugged them, she cried with them, she prayed with them. In the middle of their storm, she looked like a hero, still standing, still fighting. But Amanda wasn't sick. Not even a little bit. It was all an elaborate lie. For months, Sarah and Jessica were her biggest supporters. They sent her messages of encouragement every single day. They donated to her GoFundMe page, money they themselves couldn't really spare. When strangers online started questioning Amanda's story, they jumped to her defense, fiercely protective of their friend. They trusted her, in some ways, more than their own family. She understood their world, a world of medical trauma that outsiders couldn't possibly comprehend. The truth, when it finally came out, wasn't a sudden explosion. It was a slow, sickening collapse. It started with inconsistencies, little details that didn't add up. Friends and family members who were supposedly by her side during treatments couldn't be found. Medical records were mysteriously unavailable. An online community of skeptics started connecting the dots, revealing a long history of similar deceptions. When the lie fell apart, there was no celebration for Sarah and Jessica. There was only grief. The person they had poured their hearts into, the friend they had cried for, wasn't real. She was a character, a performance. The worst part wasn't the money they lost, it was the loss of faith. One of them later said it felt like Amanda had taken the last safe place she had. Support groups are built on a foundation of absolute honesty. It's the one place where you can be completely vulnerable, where you don't have to pretend to be strong. Amanda walked into that sacred space and weaponized their sympathy. She didn't just pretend to have cancer, she became fluent in the language of suffering. She studied their trauma, their fears, their hopes, and she mirrored it back to them to make herself the center of attention, a tragic hero in a story she wrote herself. She used their pain to build her own platform. Less phenomenon, where someone fakes an illness for attention and sympathy, is sometimes linked to a complex mental health condition known as factitious disorder, formerly Munchausen syndrome. People with this condition aren't typically seeking financial gain, but rather an emotional payoff. They crave the role of the patient, the attention, the care, and the sympathy that comes with it. They often go to extreme lengths, even self-harm, to make their illness appear real. They become masters of deception, not just to others, but often to themselves. It's a tragic and confusing situation. While Amanda's actions caused immense harm, it's possible she was driven by a deep-seated psychological need that she herself didn't understand. Doesn't excuse her behavior, but it adds a layer of complexity. The line between a calculated scammer and someone struggling with a severe mental disorder can be blurry. For the victims, however, the distinction hardly matters. The betrayal feels the same. The real victims, people like Sarah and Jessica, are left to pick up the pieces. They not only have to continue their own life and death battles with cancer, but they now have to heal from this profound emotional wound. The trust they had in humanity, the belief in the goodness of people, was shattered. When you're fighting a terminal illness, hope is not just a feeling, it's a lifeline. It's what gets you through another day of treatment, another night of pain. Amanda didn't just take their money. She didn't just take their time, she stole their hope. She was a thief who robbed the dying of one of their most precious resources. This story is a stark reminder of how vulnerable we can be when we're at our lowest. It shows how easily empathy can be exploited. But it's also a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Through women Amanda betrayed are still fighting. They're rebuilding their trust, not in strangers, but in themselves and in the small circle of people who have proven their loyalty. Their safe space was violated, but their spirit was not broken. They continue their fight, now carrying the scar of this betrayal. A painful lesson that sometimes the most dangerous monsters are the ones who pretend to be angels. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. Stay safe and be kind to one another.